Welcome to Talk of the Town. I'm your host, Carrie Dillon. We are joined today by Chuck Atkins, and you are part of the Vantage Point Foundation. This is such an extraordinary group. Your focus is the rehabilitation or the rejoining to civilian life of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan wars.
That's correct. It's to help them and support them in various ways transition to become successful civilians. They've done, these men and women that have been deployed in this 18 years of war we've had, did remarkable things while they were on active duty. They did it in harsh conditions and dangerous conditions, and so our job is to help them, to support them in various ways, which we can get into, to become successful civilians. We know they have the skills and abilities to do it. It's just a question of harnessing it.
Sure.
When a veteran in those kind of conditions has been discharged, they lose their purpose because they were provided a very specific purpose. They were part of a team.
Yeah.
They had mutual support. They depended upon one another.
Yeah.
And when they become civilians, that purpose is all of a sudden lost, and we want to help them find and pursue a new purpose in the civilian world.
Absolutely. And there's kind of this thing that happens, you know, you have the idea that this is how you want to spend your life, right, being of service. And then you get into theory of it, then you put it in practice, and then you come back from that whole, you know, that whole scope. And that is like the transition, that what happens during that process to the human being is extraordinary, and it's traumatic in many ways. It can be really and coming back from that is just as traumatic.
Yeah, a lot of these young men and women went in the service right after high school, and so they had no careers to come back to. That's what they've known. What they've known in their mostly adult life, whether it's 3 years or 23 years,
right.
They've known war, combat, military service, and now all of a sudden they're back in the civilian world. We're really good at training young men and women to go to war. Probably as good as we've ever been in terms of training and equipping young men and women to go to war.
And so we get them wired.
That's
we get them wired for that, or rewiring, you know, the basic civilian life to become a soldier, right? There's a rewiring that takes place.
But we're not very good at teaching them to come home and become successful civilians.
There's a whole other rewiring that needs to take place when they come home. That's what you all give them.
That's our responsibility, and we stay with them for at least a year, providing various services and support. Mentoring is a big part of our program, where we take people who have some formal military background that are in the middle of or at the end of a successful career. We partner them with the veterans entering our program, and we take a peer mentor, someone more of their generation who's been to Iraq and Afghanistan, who's been through our program.
They can not just
and
say,
we also connect them. So each person who comes through our program has a mentor team to work with them.
There's one thing to say, you know, I have compassion for you. It's another thing entirely when you can say, I've been there.
Yeah.
And this is how I made it work.
The first step when someone enters our program, we spend 5 days together.
So it's like a retreat, right?
It's like a retreat where we bring facilitators in from outside, and we begin to talk about unloading some trauma, setting goals, and define new purposes in life, in the civilian world, in the community, and their careers, and in their families.
What I love about this organization, and it is a whole family dynamic that shifts and shifts and shifts, moving from place to place, you know, leaving, coming back, you know, it's a whole family thing. But what I love about your organization is that you meet the folks and you see if it's the right fit.
Correct.
It's really, really hands-on what y'all do.
And we also provide a spouse retreat so that spouses can come and sort of let us help them deal with what they're having to deal with this reentry of the spouse that's come back from dangerous combat and now as a civilian. We do some resiliency training to make sure that the veterans in our program periodically during the year have a chance to come back together and talk about how they're doing on their goals, how they're doing in their life goals and their community goals.
Yeah.
We also provide educational job training
So important. We need to keep up with you, and we need you to come back, and so we can find out more about what's happening and stay current. Chuck Atkins from the Vantage Point Foundation, get in touch.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more Talk of the Town.